Okay, so welcome to our shir on Torah Anytime. Today's shir is dedicated for the loving memory of my dear friend, and maybe your friend as well, for Shulam Baruch Yida ben Rabbi Yosef Yechiel Mechel, Ulev Shulam Yidi Lebowitz. He made with us for 2 years. I was in contact with him literally every week about our Gillian. We went through many Todas together. We spent time in Eretz Yisrael together. He was an extremely peace-loving person. He loved all of humanity. He loved Yidden. He loved all types of Yidden. He loved Torah. He loved talking to Hashem. It was an amazing, good energy. Hashem should help that his family should see tremendous solace, and all of his friends, and whatever we could do to help one another and learn the messages from his life and help out his family financially and emotionally would be a tremendous chizuk. So the Navi says, we're up to Perek Chav Daled, and we're talking about how David HaMelech escapes the last second again. Every time where Shaul is after David HaMelech, he escapes in the nick of time. And now the story continues. Vikasher Shav Shaul ma'achre Plishtim. He runs away from the Plishtim. Ve'yagidu lo lemer hinei David b'midbar En Gedi. They said that David is in the desert called En Gedi. Now anyone who was by En Gedi knows that it's called En Gedi because there's Gedim, there's these mountain goats who are running up and down. And if you look on the bottom, you can see these. They have these goats, which you can still see today by En Gedi. So he's hiding out in En Gedi. He takes 3,000 warriors, Bacharim, chosen. Bachar means chosen. Mikol Yisrael. He takes his chosen troops, his Navy SEALs. He goes searching for him in the crevices and the cracks, there where the mountain goats are running. And he comes to the foot of the mountain, and there's a cave. Shaul had to relieve himself. He had to go to the bathroom. So he goes into the cave, which was a Mokum Tsanua, because Shaul was a very private person. And he goes there to do what he got to do. With the king, the guy alliance. With the king, the guy alliance, where the king goes alone. Here's where it comes from. Where does the king go alone? He goes into the Ma'ara, he goes into the cave to do what he does alone. But he doesn't know that deep within the bowels of the cave, David and his men are hiding out inside. Now really, David is hiding out over there because they're afraid that Shaul is coming and who knows what's going to happen next. But in reality, now David is in control. He has these 400 guys with him, or 600, and suddenly Shaul is in the cave and he can take him out. David's people said, "Hey David, Captain David, today's the day. This is the day when God told you, I'm going to put your enemies in your hand." It's actually coming true. The prophecy is happening live. You can do to him whatever you want. You got him. You cornered him. Vayokim David. So David stealthily goes behind the side. He creeps around. It seems like Shaul took off his cloak because he went to do what he got to do. And he cut off the corner of it quietly without saying a word. Now, if you remember, this cloak has a lot of meaning because when Shmuel HaNavi went away from him and he told him that you lost the kingship, Shaul grabbed onto his cloak, but Shmuel kept on walking and it ripped. And Shmuel HaNavi told him, just like this cloak, you ripped off a piece of the cloak, so too your kingship has been ripped off from you. And now it happens again when David goes and he cuts off the corner of the cloak, which means that the kingdom is being ripped off from you. But he doesn't kill him. He just rips it off and goes back to where he was hiding. David HaMelech had a lot of internal anguish on the fact that he did this move and he cut off this kanav bigdoy al asher koras as konav asher l'Shaul, that he cut off the edge of the beged from Shaul forbid I should do such a thing to my king. I should kill him. L'Mashiach Hashem. He was anointed by God. Fact is that Shaul was anointed by God. L'shloich Yodiboy. I should send my hand to kill him. Ki Mashiach Hashem. He was anointed by Hashem. Vayishal said David es anosha badvarim. He knocked him down. It's arangeflikt. Vayishal said David means it's an arangeflikt, and he with words chastised them, and he said, how could you even fathom to want to kill the king? This king tried to kill you 20 times. He gave you his daughter, and then he's out to kill you, and he took everything away from you, and he never kept his promises. You don't touch the king. So he doesn't let him do anything to Shaul. Shaul finishes doing what he got to do, and he leaves the cave. He's walking up from the cave. He's walking up the mountain, and there's just enough distance now between him and David that he's not close enough to David that he can do anything to him, but he's too far, but he's not far enough that he can't hear him. He's in that distance. So David leaves the cave. Shaul's up there on the top, and he calls out, my master, my king. So Shaul spins around. Lo and behold, he sees David. He's the guy who's chasing after. He's right there. But he prostrates himself. He bows down twice, which is a tremendous sign of bittul. And David cries out to Shaul, why are you listening to the words of those men? Meaning Doeg HaAdoimi, that's the Adam. Doeg HaAdoimi is the one who ratted on him that he gave, that's why the whole city of Noiv was massacred.
He's alluding to Doeg HaAdoimi by saying
Adam. Correct. Why do you listen to all those naysayers who are saying that David wants your evil? You see with your own eyes that God gave you into my hands in this cave. And my men said I should kill you. But I had pity on you. Now don't forget that the word vatochas has a lot of meaning in Nach, because this vatochas, this is the third time we're coming on the word chas. First time we had chas was when Shaul was chas on the king of, he was chas on Agog. Vayachmoil al Agog. He had pity on Agog, and he didn't listen to Shmuel because he was chas, he had pity. When it came to Noiv Irakayanim, he said, Lo Sachos. He said, no pity, no man will be left behind, and we're going to slaughter the entire city of Noiv, and only one person escaped, and that's how the Ur V'tumim got to David. And here David is telling him, you should know, I was chas. I did have pity on your soul. V'atochos olecho. V'oimad. And I said, Lo eshlach yodi b'adoini. I won't lay my hand on my master, ki Mashiach Hashemu, because he's the anointed one from God. Va'avi, and David calls Shaul his father. He says Tati, even though it's a shver who really wanted to kill him, he still calls him father. He says Va'avi, und Tata, re'ei gam re'eias knaf mi'ilcha b'yadi. See the edge of my cloak, see the edge of your cloak in my hand. And he held up the edge of his cloak. Ki bechor si'as knaf mi'ilcha v'oirakticha. I'm proving to you that when I cut off this cloak, I could have cut you off. I didn't. I have no evil in my hand. I did no evil to you. And you're hunting my soul to take it. Why? Why are you trying to kill me? God should judge between me and you, and he will avenge me. Hashem imeka. God is going to avenge me from you. But my hand, I won't lay a hand on you. Like the ancient parable sayers would say, or the ancient poets, they would say, from evil people, wicked comes out. Or from wicked people, evil comes forth. Heilige Rebbe Yoel. V'yodi lo yisiyah bach, but my hands won't be on you. Achrei mi yotze melech Yisrael. And he says, oh king, who is this king going after? Achrei mi ateroidif, who are you running? Achrei kelev mes, after a dead dog. Achrei parosh echad, after one flea. You know, the worst, in Torah, a dog has very, very little. Lekelev tashlichen oisoi. A dog is a very disgraceful animal. Lekelev tashlichen oisoi is like, it's like a cow has a value. Everything has a value. A dog, you don't eat a dog for its meat. You don't milk a dog for. It's a dog is like a guard dog. It's lekelev tashlichen oisoi. A dead dog is the least valuable thing. It's like something which is. It's just a nuisance. It's something you have to get rid of. There's no value to it. A flea on a dead dog, that's the lowest of the lowest valueless item you can fathom. It's like something which is mamish nothing. And that's what David compares himself to. He says, Achrei mi ateroid, who are you chasing after? Achrei kelev mes, after a dead dog. Achrei parosh echad, one flea on a dead dog. I'm a flea on a dead dog. Why are you chasing after me? I'm nobody. And then he repeats again, God is going to be a judge between me and you. He's going to fight my battle and he's going to exact judgment from you. So really this is a theme again that David HaMelech always puts his fight onto God. He says, God is going to avenge me. He does. I don't have to take care of it myself. Hashem is going to take care of it for me. David finishes speaking. Is this the voice of my son David? Now don't forget, up until now, whenever Shaul was talking to David, he said, Ben Yishai. He said, hey, you, freedman. Yo, climb. And here he says, David Beni. He calls him by his first name. Suddenly he awakens that connection, that fatherly connection that he had. And he goes out of that depressed state into a place of warmth and connection. Vayisa Shaul koile vayef. And Shaul's voice rose and he broke down sobbing. Vayomer al David, Tzadik ato mimeni, you're more righteous than I. Ki ato gemaltani atoive vani gemalticha ra. You've done well, you've done goodness to me, and I've only done evil back to you. Va'ato igadato ayomes asher asisi iti toiva. And today proves that you did with me this favor, as asher sigrani, you cornered me. You captured me, Hashem b'yadcha. God captured you in your hand. You didn't kill me. Could it be that someone should meet his enemy and he should send him on a good path? You're definitely not my foe. You're definitely not my enemy. God should repay you for what you've done to me. Here's the first time Shaul gets open. You know, he gets upfront about what's happening. He says, I know you're going to take over the Malucha. It's a done deal. You're taking over. And the kingship of Israel will be in your hand. Swear to me in the name of the living God. Don't decimate my children. I know you're going to be king. Don't avenge my evils that I've done to you by killing out my children, my progeny. Swears to him. Shaul goes up to his home. They go back to Metzuda. Obviously he didn't follow Shaul because he still didn't trust if there's anything else looming between him and Shaul, because you never knew with Shaul which state of mind he's going to be in, because from 1 minute he was able to talk to him like the most loving conversation, then in a moment later he went from to an extreme polar opposite. We're up to Perek Chafei, Rabbi, and come along on a fascinating story. Vayomar Shmuel, it's the end of the era, and Shmuel Hanavi is nifted. Vayikovtzu kol Yisrael, vayispedu loi. All of Israel came together and they eulogized Shmuel Hanavi, the greatest prophet, who was a people's prophet, and he was always there for the people, and he went around trying to help the people, and he made a king for the people against his better judgment, and he never said these esoteric, fancy nevuah. He was always like, you wanted to find your donkeys, you went to Shmuel Hanavi. You needed help finding your donkey, you went to Shmuel Hanavi. He didn't give Maris and Nevi'im talking about these psychedelic experiences with all types of malachim, melech matat coming down, and all heavenly angels and how they interact. You lost your donkeys? Shmuel Hanavi helped you find your donkeys. He was a roya. You were a roya, you were a pastor. He was there for the simple folk. He didn't tell you his trip. He didn't tell you. He was there for simple issues, simple problems. You want a king? He's the guy who's ready to be the king. You need to go to battle? Here's how you should fight. He brought along his own food. Yeah, very low level, with the people type of a prophet. David also came down to be maspid, and he goes down to Midbar Paran. And Chazal say that he went down to be maspid, even though technically he could have been afraid because Shaul was also going to be there. But he said that no, I'm going to give honor to the tzaddik who was nifter, and he went to the levaya from the tzaddik from Shmuel Hanavi regardless. Now we start a new story over here, very fascinating tale. There was a guy in Moin. He had his business in Carmel. Very rich guy, wealthy fellow. He has 3,000 sheep, and 1,000 goats. So you're talking here about big knacker, big macher, puritz in town. Now, Chazal say that the connection over here is that everybody went to Shmuel to be maspet Shmuel. Besides this guy, this puritz, wealthy fellow, he didn't think it was necessary for him to go to Shmuel's levaya. Why? Because he's a wealthy guy, he has a lot of business dealings, and it's not important to him. The name of this guy's name is Novel. The name Novel is Kishmoy Kain, who Novel is a lotion of nivul, like nivul peh, menuvel. He's a novel. They used to name people based on your character and what you were. He was a novel. V'shem ishto Avigoil, and his wife's name is Avigail. Ve'isha toiva sechel v'yifas toyer. She has good mind. She's smart and she's good looking. Ve'oish kosher, but her husband, this novel guy, is a hard, difficult man. Ve'rama alolim v'hu kelobi. So he's a difficult guy. He's hard to deal with, bad midas, just in Yiddish you say ashvere bocher. V'hu kelobi. And he comes from the tribe of Kolev, which is a side tribe, which is like a non-Jewish tribe, which somehow integrated within the Eden. So he's not really Jewish, but he's within the tribes of Judah. And Kelevi also has the connotation of a Kelev. So just the names, Novel, Kelev, he's a low-class fellow. But he got a lot of dough.
Not Kalev ben Yefuna?
No, I didn't see that. B'nei Kalev hoyem en shevet la'atzmoi. He says what? That it was Kalev ben Yefuna? Okay. Fine.
It was a relative.
It was a relative.
Kalev ben Yefuna was a relative of David.
Vayishma David b'midbar ki goyzes novel as. So David hears that Novel is shearing his sheep. Now you have to understand, we always talk about this. In order to understand Novi, you always have to visualize and try to imagine what was going on in the ancient world. Because if you don't have context of what things were like in the ancient world, you can't grasp the connection, the context, you don't chap. Shearing of sheep in the ancient world was a huge, big thing. It means there's a season when you shear the sheep. So a guy who had 3,000 or 2,000 sheep to shear, and he has there 30 handboys, he's sitting there in his field, there's a whole matzav, he's king of the world. He's shearing the sheep, this is turning into wool. Wool is money, wool is resources, and you're huge. You're huge. So when you're sitting there by the shearing of the sheep, that's when everyone knew you're a puritz. That's when you knew that you're Moshe Gross. So he's sitting there, Moshe Gross, shearing the sheep. David sends 10 guys. David alu Carmel, go up to Carmel. Say in my name, I'm sending you as an emissary, and ask him for peace. Koi means same next year, to strength. Koi means go from strength to strength. That means I'm wishing you success. Va'ato shalom. Uveis shalom, you should have peace. Uveis shalom, chalash shalom. Va'ato shemati ki goyzim loch. I heard that you're shearing your sheep. Ato. Now listen here. Your shepherds were amongst us. That means David, don't forget, has 600 people with him at this point of the game. Now we spoke about it last week, that David became the chief of all the vagabonds and all the derelicts and all the guys who had no place in society. Whoever was Ish Asher Loi Noishe, whoever had creditors, Ish Asher Maruach, whatever the lesson was, people who were depressed, people who had no future, people who had huge problems, anybody who didn't fit into the society or they were fugitives of the law, ended up becoming his entourage of lawbreakers.
Inspired Robin.
Inspired, yeah. So he had all the people who had nothing to lose anymore. So they were, on the one hand, they were half criminals. They were all the Chevra who are not part of normative society, and he became their captain. So he's sending up 10 Chevra, and he's telling this novel, listen here, you should know all of your shepherds hung around. Your shepherds, we didn't do anything to them. We didn't shepherd them. We didn't do anything to them. When they were in Carmel, we protected them. So you have to understand that this is like, these are like partisans almost. It's like a partisan camp. So David is controlling the partisans, the partisaner, and the partisaner, he's telling them, look, we protected all of you. The Pelishtim didn't touch your guys. We protected you from wild animals. We always helped you guys out. Sha'alas norecha, ask your chevra, ask your guys, and they'll tell you, and you'll see that we were good with, we took care of we made sure that your resources stay whole. Therefore, to know is give us something from your wealth. Like, it's like almost like a pre-form of taxes. It's like, I remember my father used to have on 8th and 61st, my father had a junkyard. My father had a junkyard in Chinatown, but when I was a kid, in 8th and 61st Street, when I was a kid, we used to live with the Italians in Borough Park at the edge. So the Italians used to have this carting company that used to come pick up all the garbage, that these like green trucks. Now the way my father used to tell me, now he had a junkyard, so he always had junk. So they used to come around and they used to tell you that they have a carting company. And if you take their carting company, it comes with protection. Protection. If you don't take their carting company, you don't have protection. So if you took their carting company and you paid, then nothing happened. But if Chaz v'Shalom, you didn't, stuff would happen. Stuff would happen! Some other protection was taken off. So, and that's how you did business. You know, my father always had protection. Always. Until he actually had break-ins, and of course they didn't have any protection, and then he had to get a pit bull until it became illegal. But whatever it is, but I'm just telling you, in the prerequisite of taxes was that if I took care of you and I have the partisan and we take care, and Baruch Hashem, the Machs Panusa, so then give something back to the, support the army that's taking care of you, support your local government. Anyway, so they go over to Novel and they tell him the whole speech. They finish speaking. So Novel answers back with a loud mouth, loud enough that everyone should hear him because he's Puritz. He's the landlord. Vayomer mi David umi ben Yishai. Who's this David and who's this ben Yishai dude? Hayomer Abu Avodim is parts of Mishma Pnei Adorav. Every day, new slaves run away from their masters. These rebel slaves run away. They think they become free men, and now they can come and they come and zechum mechetunim. V'lakachti yashlachmi v'esmaime v'estivchosi ashetavachti. I should take my bread and my water and my meat that I butchered now for my sheer hands, my workers. I should give them to these guys who I don't have any idea who they are. So basically he gave attitude on high. And David didn't like attitude. They spun around, they went back to the captain. And David is now pissed. Everyone should get your rifle, get your AR-15, everybody gear up, peeps. Everybody puts up the sword. He put on the gartel with the sword. 400 guys, but not 400 regular guys. I'm always going to repeat this again and again. 400 guys who had nothing to lose. 400 guys who were loose cannons. 400 guys who had no shalom bayis, who ran out of town, who were depressed. 400 guys.
Everything to lose. They gave away their life for the lose.
Right.
No, it does.
It says earlier in the pasuk, and 200 stayed behind in the camp to guard the gear. So 400 guys, a little army come up. One of the servants there go to the wife, Avigail, and he was Taka Puritz, and he was a low energy guy, but he had a good wife. And they went to her and they said, I just want you to know, David sent messengers to bless our master, which is Novel, and he gave him attitude. You should know they were very good to us. They were kind to us. We didn't lose anything on the when we used to go shepherding, they guarded us, they watched us, they protected us. I'm sorry. They were like a wall around us, like a barrier. As we were shepherds, they guarded us. You tell us. Va'ato now. I don't know what you want to do now, but I'm just telling you, bad stuff is about to happen. The l'chaim is about to hit the fan, we used to say. It's going to happen. He's coming up now. V'hu ben Belial, and they said, you should know your husband, your Mr. Novel, ben Belial, we couldn't talk to him. So she gets it that there's a crisis looming. This is not going to end up pretty. So she goes, she takes 200 loaves of bread, 2 big barrels of pouches of wine. Is 5 dressed sheep, or ready, or like 5 steaks, 5 gebruten steak. And 5 sacks of poached grain, umeya tzimukim, umasayim develem, umasayim develem, and 200 pressed figs. And they put them on these donkeys. You go before me, I'm coming right after you. So this whole chain, or this whole what is it called when camels are? Caravan full of goodies are on the way. She didn't say anything to Novel because she knew that there's nothing to do. Novel, there's nobody home over here. So she just took care of business on her own. So she's traveling on this donkey, and so they meet. So the caravan meets. David Omar, and David says, Achla Sheker, and David says in his heart, Achla Sheker shemarti es kol asher lezeh bamidbar. So David just said, right before he meets her, and David just told his guys, this was a waste of time that I protected this guy. We didn't ever touch any of his stuff. And he repaid me evil for the good I did to him. So should God do to the enemies of David. And so, this is a lashon in Chazal, a lashon in the Torah a lot of times where you sort of curse yourself, this is a way of saying I'm going to do something. You say, God should strike the enemies of David if I'm not going to, and here he says what he's going to do. It's mashtem bakir. It's like the worst vulgar language you could use. He said like if I'm gonna leave over
Novel Tivo.
in novel tibo, like mashtem bakir meint, I'm gonna moichel just for the translation. Mashtem bakir meint, einer das kann pischen auf dem Wand. I said, überbleiben ein Pischen auf dem Wand. So that means I'm going to decimate every single male member who ever belongs to Novel. I'm going to eradicate for giving me attitude, for protecting him for so long. So David Mamish aligns as the perfect captain for Insha de Lemala. It Mamish Tims. It's like the captain and the partisan, and he's like the perfect captain. Merekt of the partisan, you enrage them, you give him attitude. He's there to defend his guys. You don't mess with my peeps. Vater Abigail is David vatamar vater malachimur. So Abigail meets David. She comes down. Vatipo la'apei David al paneh v'tashtachu oretz. She falls to the ground. Vatipo al ragla vatoimer bi adoini. She says, it's my fault. Bi adoini adoini over, and it's on me. The sin is on me. Just listen to me. Let me say a few words. Listen to what your maidservant has to say. So first she puts the blame on herself, but right away she puts the blame right back on her husband. So first she diverts the attention because they're going after Novel. He's the bad guy. And she says, no, I'm the bad guy. Okay, so now the tension's on her. Now she again turns it back and she says, just a strategy. She says, his name is Kishmoy Novel. Novel Shmoy. Unovel Imoy. He's a fagrepte ying. He's a peasant. He's a poet. That's who he is. I am maidservant. It's my fault because I didn't see. You sent servants. I didn't see him. I'm sorry. Va'ata adoini, please, my master, chai Hashem v'chai nafshecha, Hashem enoach Hashem iboi b'domem. Hashem should save you, that you shouldn't come to blood. Hui sheya yotcha l'cha. Now don't forget that David was somebody who just stopped himself from bloodshed, from killing Shaul. So when you tell him, don't shed blood or innocent blood, it talks to him. Va'ata, you can novel oivecha mavakshem es adoini ra. Forget about my Novel. I'm married to him already. I know this Novel. Let the Novel be on your enemies. And you should, here's this blessing, here's this gift that I brought you. Please forgive the sin. Forgive my sin. I promise you, God's going to give you Bias Neman, you fought many battles, no evil went through in your hands. Adam, and a person got up, which means Shaul. Shaul tried to kill you, right? And God kept you alive regardless. He kept you alive. And all of your enemies he broke down. He put them into a kafakel like a slingshot back and forth. Goliath, right? And God is going to appoint you to be the king on the Jewish people. So, she knew already who David was, and she knew who he was, and she brought out his shvach, and she brought out how Hashem was with him, and how Hashem saved him, and she's diverting the pressure on herself and saying, look, my husband's a Novel, forget about him, but I didn't know him, please forgive me. So what?
She's up on all the news.
She's up on all the news, and she stepped up to the plate to take the blame on herself so that she could divert it. That's what we said in the beginning, that she was a maskelas. Don't take this thing of killing Nevel. There's no point, like, why would you want to kill innocent blood? It's not going to add anything to you when you're king. You're not going to get any cover that you killed Novel. And you should remember the kindness and remember my words. Now, what I find fascinating about this Novel, just as far as character goes, Novel Chazal say he didn't show up to the Levaya. He's also a person who's out of touch. That means the biggest danger that a person who has wealth has is when he becomes out of touch of reality. He's not tuned into the world around him. That's the worst thing that money can do to a person, is when it creates like an echo chamber, where you only hear yes, yes, yes from the people around you, and you don't know what's coming off. That's why he didn't feel it necessary to go to Shmuel Hanavi, because he has enough money. And that's why when his Avadim came and they said, they protected us, it was meaningless to him. And that's why she had to step in, Abigail had to step in, and had to talk common sense and say, he's living in his own universe, this guy. It's just, he's checked out. He wasn't a Moed B'Machas yet, because he's not a Melech yet, David. David is still a captain of a bunch of partisan army. Vayomer David l'Abigail, Baruch Hashem u'lekei Yisrael asher shilochech hayom hazeh lekrasi. Thank you, Hashem. Blessed be God that sent you my way. Baruch Tamech, and blessed be your mind, your mindset, your wisdom. He understood that she did a wise strategic move. Thank you that you saved me from spilling blood. Long live the God of Israel that saved me from doing evil to you. And he tells it to her. He said, listen, if you wouldn't have come now, he wouldn't have remained for your novel guy. I promise you, wouldn't remain anybody. He took all of the gifts. Go home. I listened to your voice. And I am lifting up your face, meaning I'm listening to what you said, and we're good. So Abigail goes home to her husband to Novel. So he's making a big feast. He doesn't know nothing about the whole story. He's drunk. She knew that now is not the time to talk to him, because there's nobody to talk to now. Novel's having a hangover. The yain left. Adam said, his wife told him, I just want to tell you what went on yesterday, because she obviously gave away Nechasim from him, so she has to clear it with him. In the ancient times, for sure, you couldn't just go take Nechasim and give it away. She has to clear it with him. She tells him the whole story. Vayomos liboy bekirboy, and his heart stopped. V'hu hoyo lo even, and he turned into a stone. Now, I don't know if it means he had a heart attack or it means he had a stroke. But it seems like either some sort of a heart attack or a stroke, something where his body stops from shock, where he realized that he was almost dead. When David is coming with 400 mad men, he didn't stand a chance. He could have money from here to tomorrow. He would have been gone, and all the money would have become David's.
So he got depressed.
10 days later, after this stroke / heart attack / depression, whatever you want to call it, and God took him away. He died. This was the end of the novel story. David hears that Novel died. This is again the same thing like we said before, that David always says God's going to take care of it. David is like, the Rebbe and Chayder that used to have they said like Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, whatever, they used to have like in the Chayder in the time, they used to have a stick, Pashtum Shputim. You had a big, like a stick on the wall that the kids should listen. But the good Melamdim were the ones who never took the stick off the wall. The good Melamdim were the ones that they had the stick on the wall, but just the fact that there was a stick was enough to give that disciplinary power that everybody knew that he's boss. But if you actually had to use the stick, meant you're not boss. David HaMelech always plays the game that he almost teaches you a lesson just enough that you get the message, and then he says, I'll let God take care of it for me. That's what he does with Shaul, that's what he does with over here again. And he says, thank you Hashem for taking care of it. From now was Avdei Choshach Meiro, v'siroas Novel Heishiv Hashem B'roishoi. God repaid for Novel what came on his head without me being involved. Vayishlach David. So David sends Shluchim. Vayidaber ba'Avigail lokachta le'isha. So he sent Shatchanim to Avigail, because this Avigail made a very good impression on him because she was wise, and she had a good strategy in place to save the day. Vayavoyu avdei David al Avigail Carmela. So the Shatchanim come. Vayidaber elei olemer David shlochani elayich lakachtech lo le'isha. David wants to take you for a wife. Vatokom vatishtachvu apayim orzo. She bows down twice. Vatoimed hine amoscho lishivcho lirchoitz raglei avdei adoni. Your maidservant is here to wash the feet of her master. Kal v'chomer that I'm ready to become his wife. That means I'm ready to be his maidservant to wash his feet and
Washes avdei adoni.
avdei adoni.
To wash the feet.
It means ragle avadech. Here it means the feet of his servants. I think it touches means I'm ready. Right, even a bigger talchomer. Vatamar vatokem avigail vatirka valachamor. So she gets on the chamor vachomesh naresea olchus lereu. She takes along 5 maidservants. Don't forget, she's a wealthy woman. She's an almana from an extremely wealthy man. So it was part of who she was that she comes along with 5 maidservants. Nichsei tzoin, right. Vatelech achrei malache David, vatila leisha, and she becomes a wife. Ves Achinoyam lokach David mi Yisrael, and now he takes a second wife, Achinoyam, vatiyana gam shneiam lo l'noshim. So now he has 2 wives. You can ask a question, what happened to Michal? Michal is the daughter from Shaul, that's how he became an Edom. V'Shaul notsan as Michal bitoy, but Shaul took his daughter Michal, Eshes David, lefalti ben lish asher migalam. Now Chazal, whatever, they're busy with this, either because he said it's a mekach tois, or because he was a moed b'malchus, and therefore the kedushin was never chal. However, he got out of the kedushin that it was a kilu a tois lemafreya. That's how he got out. And the Gemara says very nice things about Palti ben Lish. That he drove a sword into the bed. That Palti ben Lish, the Gemara says, was one of this Palti ben Lish is, he didn't do anything wrong. He was taken by Shaul to be a son-in-law on Eshes Ish, and he didn't sleep with her. He drove a bed. He drove a sword in between the bed, right?
Isn't the Gemara Sanhedrin?
Yeah.
He drove a sword into the bed, and he said that. All the lesson that he said. Bottom line is that he never touched her, and that was yeah. So that's where we're up to. Rabboisai and Mitzvah Shem, join us next week as the Navi You Never Knew continues.
That's the red button on the right.